Welcome, everyone. We will give everyone some time here to join and start in a couple of minutes. Thank you for those of you joining. Just gonna wait another minute or so here for the rest of the group to join us. Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, and welcome to our Discovery Boards webinar. With that, I'll pass it over to our presenter, Samantha, to get us started.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad everybody was able to join today, and I'm excited to give you guys an overview of discovery boards, and then we'll do a little in-tenant demo for you. Let me go ahead and go over to my slides. So first off, if you're not familiar with InnoCrowd, we're a full-service Workday partner, and we offer initial deployment, Phase X, and post-production support services for HCM, financials, adaptive planning, integrations, extend, and more. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, submit those via the Q&A feature, and we'll take time to answer them at the end. All right. So a little bit about myself before I jump in and start giving you guys a bunch of details. My name is Samantha Johnson. I also answer to Sammy or Sam. I have been a Workday report writer and people analytics product lead here at InnoCrowd for almost 5 years, which is crazy. And that's about as long as I've been in the Workday ecosystem as well. I have certifications in reporting, people analytics, Prism, data conversion, and HCM. So I've had my hands in a bunch of different parts of Workday while I've been here, and I'm excited to give you guys this overview. So a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, just for our agenda purposes. I'm going to go over what are discovery boards, when you can use them, and how do they compare to dashboards, if you guys are familiar with those. And then from there, after I talk at you guys for a while, I'll take you into a demo and show you what it looks like in real time. And then at the end, I'll go over any questions that you guys wind up submitting. So for our overview, just to go over some benefits for discovery boards, if you guys don't have any knowledge on what they are, discovery boards support quick and ad hoc analysis that can be easily shared across individuals or teams. So it's really for you to be able to slice and dice your data quickly and on spot rather than having to create a report and build a whole report definition. And leading into the next point, unlike dashboards and custom reports, it gives you a lot more flexibility to adjust outputs on the fly. If there's a field that you want to add or remove or switch the chart type that you have, you can do it all right then and there and see the real-time updates. With reports/dashboards, you have to go in and edit your definition a couple times to figure out what you want that to look like and make sure everything looks right. So a little bit more flexible there. A lot of people think that discovery boards are a little bit more surface level, a little more easier to be able to a little not as in-depth analysis, but that's not true. You can do some really heavy analysis in discovery boards by using any calculated fields you make, or by using different types of charts to really get that complex data representation there. So there's a lot of different things you can do with discovery boards. Also, if you wind up going through and creating a set of visualizations that you think are really useful and you would like others to see them, you have the unique opportunity to give access to either individuals or whole security groups to be able to view what you've built or to be able to edit, depending on the access you give them. And that just really enables you to be able to share and collaborate with others, which is a really cool and unique feature to discovery boards. So the types of visualizations that you're going to be seeing in discovery boards, you'll have your normal charts, which are your area bar and line, or donut pie charts and tables that look like a spreadsheet. And you'll find those all are able to be accomplished with an advanced report or a matrix report. But with discovery boards, you also have access to visualizations like heat maps, KPIs, which are key performance indicators, pivot tables, scatter plots, and waterfall charts. So you really kind of get access to a lot of different ways to view your data and different ways to pull up metrics and show how they all relate to one another. So you have a lot more options here with discovery boards. I want to do a little bit of a compare and contrast between discovery boards and dashboards. A lot of times people think that they're similar, and they're similar in the sense that they provide a hub for users to be able to go to and look at data that's been configured and built. But in terms of what that looks like, they're very different. So discovery boards are very visualization focused. You can have spreadsheet like looking data on there, but it's really very chart forward. And being able to customize those charts, you get a lot more options there. With dashboards, you can have all different report types on there except a search report, but you have to have your custom reports built on the back end, and then you can put them onto your dashboard. A lot of times people have like tasks on there or links to other reports to go to as well, so it can serve as a hub in that way. Where discovery boards really just trying to give you visually everything that you want to see with your data. Discovery boards are also really easy to change and configure. You can, like I mentioned earlier, you can take fields out, add them, remove them, copy visualizations, refresh everything, change a data source even right then and there, and it updates as you're doing those things. And you can see how that's changing your output while you're making those changes. With a dashboard, it's all based on your custom report. So you have to configure your custom report, make sure it's ready for your dashboard. Then you have to add it to your dashboard and configure it there as well. So there's more steps to it, and there's a lot that goes into making a dashboard up and running, where discovery board is a little bit quicker there. And going off of that, the discovery boards they used indexed and Prism data sources only. So there's a lot of different options between the index ones that are available, and also if you do have Prism, the ones that you can build to be custom for that. Where dashboards, since you are just building a report, you can use any data source, and then as long as you can get it onto your dashboard itself, you can use it. But with discovery boards, it requires a lot less reporting knowledge. It's very self-intuitive. Once you kind of get in there and start working with it, you can pick up pretty quickly of how to go through and make changes and create your different discovery boards and visualizations. Where with a dashboard, a lot of times you have to have a lot of familiarity with your report writer tools, and a lot of times people go and they actually have to do classes on how to build a report. So this allows users from any skill level, advanced to maybe not as advanced, to be able to come in and be able to utilize discovery boards in a way that benefits them and they're part of the organization most. We talked a little about sharing. So sharing, you can have specific users or groups depending on who you want to see what. Dashboards, only security groups can view your dashboard output. And going off of that makes discovery boards more suitable for individual personal use as well as groups, but individuals can go in and edit and make these metrics and calculations and data mappings that you've made more specific to them if they need to, and be able to add things that are more relevant for them on an individual basis. Whereas a dashboard, it's meant for a broader group, so you're going to get a lot of more broader generic data, where discovery boards, you can get niche with it if you want. You have the option. To talk about the content and performance, dashboards, I don't know if any of you guys have ever worked with dashboards before, but one of the pitfalls is you have to be able to have your report render in 30 seconds or less, or it will not show. With a discovery board, you get 45 seconds. And while that seems to be not that big of a difference, it is a huge difference when it comes to reports. An extra 5-10 seconds is what then can allow a report to finish and the data and calculations to be run quickly for everybody to be able to see the output. So it gives you more flexibility there. And you also have more flexibility with the amount of content that you can have on there. So for a discovery board, you can have an unlimited number of sheets, which are very similar to the output of tabs that you see on a dashboard. So a dashboard, you can have a maximum of 36 reports on there, because you have 6 tabs and 6 worklets per tab. Whereas a discovery board, you get in a limited number of sheets, and then you can have up to 10 visualizations per sheet. So if you have a lot on there, you just might want to organize it a little bit, but you have a lot of options when it comes to how much content you want on there. A couple tips and tricks to keep in mind, and just cool point outs about that discovery boards. You can add descriptions to your charts, and your title. You can go through and have underneath of that overview of what you're trying to accomplish with your chart, and maybe even whether it's directions or just an understanding for the user to look at it and get to know what you're trying to portray. We've talked a lot about sharing and collaborating, so really being able to use that, and it's a really cool feature that users can real time be sharing and collaborating together, which is awesome. You can also use these discovery boards to mimic a worklet and add it to your homepage for quick, easy access. You can do that with a dashboard or an individual worklet, but with a discovery board, people think you have to go, search into your drive and find the one that's shared with you or that you've created, but you can also have it right on your homepage as well for quick access, which is great. And a point I really want to harp on is utilizing visualizations. Really try to incorporate multiple different types of those visualizations to show your data and represent it in different ways. And it will maybe make you think about something differently or see it a different way than you were previously. And a good example of that is our KPIs. A lot of customers will build KPIs and have them as summary tiles on the top of their discovery board. So when they open it, they get like quick insights, and then they can go into more detail below with other charts. So that's a really cool feature. And time stamping, it's always beneficial to include a time period or an as of date filter for your to keep your reports and that you're building within discovery boards up to date. Usually they come in with your data source. So sometimes you always have that come in. But if you don't have them on your Prism data source, or if you picked an index data source that does not have that, you can create those through your filters as well. So using that is a really cool way to make sure everything is up and running, and you can compare last year to this year side by side. A couple typical use case topics just to get you guys brainstorming of how you could use this to benefit you. We see a lot for HR and people analytics data, so any kind of headcount or turnover trends. It's a really good way to use this. You can also use it in the finance realm for budget and versus actuals or expense reports. Recruiting metrics are also a really cool thing to use here for time to hire or offer acceptance rates to see how that's going. And DEI metrics are also really common because you can have your gender or ethnicity breakdowns and see them by any other groupings that you would like to, because sometimes you want to see that multiple different ways in how your representation looks across your organization. So it's a really cool way to measure that as well. Last thing before we jump into our demo, just want to talk about a little bit of a security aspect. If you don't have any idea of what discovery boards are, they're linked to Drive. And if you don't know what Drive is a separate entity that you can go in, and this is where discovery boards is stored. And you have to configure and turn on that domain in order to have discovery boards. So if you guys already have Drive turned on, you might be able to see discovery boards on there. There's also things like worksheets and slides. You don't have to turn all those on if you just want to use discovery boards. You can just pick that. So just a key point out there. And something to also think about is Workday recommends having a discovery board administrator security group. It's not a delivered security group, but it's something to just, if you can pinpoint the individuals who are going to be kind of heading the discovery board effort or even your Drive effort, giving them that kind of access to be able to work with the security and the access of who gets to see what within discovery boards and Drive. It's a good thing to start brainstorming and thinking about if you're interested in that. Okay, so let me hop over to the tenant that I have, and I'll show you guys the demonstration I have. So this is, let me zoom in a little bit to make sure you guys can see everything good. So this is what, when you log into your account, this is what you're going to see in your tenant. In order to get to Drive, if you're unfamiliar, you want to go to your icon, and then you'll see this little Drive drop down. If you go ahead and click in there, you'll see your Drive. This is the one you can see that I've built. You'll be able to see who has created that and owns it. and also who has access to it. Right now, this is just me, but if I had other groups or individuals shared with that, that would come up here. And if you wanted to just create a discovery board from scratch, you would be able to see that by clicking new and then discovery board. So if you guys do have Drive enabled and you've ever seen what these look like before, this is where you can find that. So if I go ahead and open the discovery board that I've built, I built a lot of different visualizations, mainly on the ones that you guys would not be getting through a normal matrix report or advanced report. So I'm going to speak to the unique visualizations to discovery boards. You can have your normal kinds of charts and bar charts in here as well, but I really wanted to show you the extent of what discovery boards can do. So our first visualization that we have here is our employee movement, and this is a waterfall visualization. So the waterfall visualizations display the net change in something's new, and something's value, showing the increases and decrease, and a total. It's essentially a bar chart, but each subsequent bar starts where the previous one left off, so showing you both positive and negative values. So here I built this employee a visualization highlighting the employee movement. So you can see here we start with our hires, voluntary terminations, involuntary terminations, our transfers in, transfers out, and then that overarching total based off of where we started. So it really paints a full picture for based on the time frame, which for the time frame I have this running for this year so far. You could edit your own to go for however much amount of time you're trying to capture. But this gives you a visualization of what has been done within that time frame for your employee movement. You can also click into these and see more details. I'll come into that one over here a little bit more for our length of service versus management level. So this is a heat map. If you've never used a heat map, these visualizations, they compare two different attributes by one common metric, and it uses color coding to designate low and high values where you see the most individuals lying. You can use these to visualize high frequency data, or when seeing general patterns is more important than the exact values. So for this here, we have our length of service versus management. So you can see here for management level, we have a lot of people right here for our individual contributors, 10 to 15 years. There's a lot of people that fall into that section. And if I wanted to click into it, there's a whole drill by section to be able to see it by more. You can also hit the show details, and it'll take you to a side and give you the details of who those individuals are and some more information on them as well. And then if I go back, we're right back to where we started. And also, if you ever want to see any one of these visualizations a little bit larger than what you're seeing, if you click these arrows here, you can get like a more single view of everything and not have to deal with the noise if you are looking at other visualization on your sheets as well. We also have a scatter plot. So this is going to compare our two different metrics, grouped by a set of attributes to identify relationships and illustrate correlations to one another. And here we have that for our regional average years and overall service versus current jobs. So we can see here we have a lot of people in our average years for their current job of almost 2 years, and average years of service of 19.6, almost 20. So you can look for what your larger areas are and maybe your smaller areas, and maybe look at an outlier and say, okay, well, for your Eastern region, we have our average years of half a year and 12 years of service. And if you want to look into that a little bit more, you can look at those individuals and see what's going on. But it's a really cool way to plot your data and see where you guys see things for your jobs and your average years of service and how those correlate with one another by your regions. Or you can swap those out to be different metrics if you have different ways you want to see those. Moving on to KPIs. These are the key performance indicators that I mentioned earlier. They display a single metric with the option to compare to another target value or time period comparison. And then they'll also display the variance or the change amount that you see at the bottom there as an amount or percentage. You can set up different display indicators for this is expected, warning, or critical, or you can leave them just to get your metric value. So for that, we have highlighting the compensation of the current average employee, total base pay versus what the median base pay is amongst employees. So For this one, we can see we have our average total base pay for employees is 80,800. And then we have our target, which is pulling in our median of what we're seeing amongst the other employees between that. And so this is technically our median here. And then the overall difference or change between the two. You can also, I've seen KPIs be used for just a head count. So if you want to do have right at the open of the spreadsheet, you could have what are your current active workers totals, and it'll give you that number. You can get as simplistic with your numbers that come back here or in depth and customizing them as you want. So you have a little bit of flexibility there, which is a cool feature. Finally, we have our base pay analysis by management level. This is technically a chart, but it's a dual axis chart. So you can really see where discovery boards can take something you would see on a matrix report for a normal chart and give it more complexity, and you could have more dimensions to it. So this is going to display multiple metrics on the same chart on two different accesses. So this chart, we're showing the comparison of our base pay by management level by looking at the average, max, min, and overall sum of the workers' pay and how they relate to one another. You can come down here and interact with it a little bit too and look at just these individual ones, or click what you want to look at base pay, or see how your sum of your total base pay relates amongst those as well. It's a very interactive chart, which is really cool. So it's another way that you can visualize your data. And one last thing I want to show you guys, because you're seeing a lot on the visual side, is what this looks like when you're going through and editing it. So if I came in here and I said, I really like this length of service versus management level heat map, I'd hit the edit button. I don't want to, you'll see over here what our panel looks like on the left-hand side. It's called a builder panel. This is where you'll see your data sources, and you can go through and look at all the ones that you have available to you. Your pencil here is where you have your fields and you're slicing and dicing a little bit more. So if I click into my length of service management, I like this. I want to see it by region. So I'm going to duplicate this, and you'll see it pop down right below. I'll switch over and come into this one here, click into it. I'm going to take out the management level, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to search for region. You drag and drop. So I've got this. I could, throw it all around the screen. You can put it in the x-axis here. And as I drop it, it's going to update. Now there's a little bit more content, so you can adjust the size of how you want that, drop it down. You can see how these things look. If you want to play with it a little more and say, well, what about, just the normal supervisory organizations? What does that look like? This is what the real-time drag and drop comes in. And if I want to see what that looks like, I'll exit out of that, drag in the soup org, and see if that makes sense for what we're looking at. Now that's a lot of information there. It's not going to be as pretty, but this is kind of what I mean, where you can troubleshoot and you can update things to be different and see how that's going to impact your output in real time. It's really user friendly and straightforward of how you want to look for these things. And if I want to come in and change our name here, I can hit the little pencil up here and take out this, and then we'll make it for region instead of management level. And you can even come in, and if you want to edit the description, hit edit. You could, edit your description here. You can also change the color, which is really cool, and which is more custom than you would get on a normal report. And you can do the same thing with your other visualizations as well. You have the option to, down here, you have a formatting panel. So if you don't like these colors, you can say, oh, I like this cloud instead. And you can, pick predetermined ones, or you could pick your own hex color as well. So if you want it to be company colors, you have options for that as well. Some charts, you don't have the ability to edit that, like a heat map. You can't, there's no formatting options. It's very much kind of, it is what it is. But a lot of your other normal charts that you see on here, you have that option as well. I know sometimes people really like to see that. So, well, that is our in-tenant demo there. Just one more point, I'll hit save too, and I can save that. And then this is where you would share with others. You hit the little icon for people, and you can enter individuals or groups as well for edit or view access. So you can really play with who sees what and how they see it. But yeah, that is the demo and overview. I know I just threw a lot of information at you guys. Do we have any questions or anything I can help answer that you guys are wondering after all of that?
Yeah, thank you, Samantha. We do actually have a few questions that came in. One of them being, does everyone have access to discovery boards, or is that a separate subscription different from Workday Financials?
Yeah, so everybody has access to discovery boards. It's not like a separate charge. You guys have that. You just have to go in and turn on the domain that's tied to that. And once you enable Drive, you'll be able to enable discovery boards, worksheets if you want, slides if you want. But it's not a separate SKU purchase that you guys have to do. It just has to be turned on within your tenant.
And a follow-up on that one, does that mean you just turn on the discovery then?
So you would have to go in, turn on Drive as that whole domain. And then once Drive is turned on, you would turn on Discovery. So if you just want Discovery, you would then have to go in and turn on that corresponding domain as well. So those two things would need to be turned on in order to access Discovery boards. And then just make sure that your users that you want to be able to access Drive and go in and be able to do this have access to those corresponding domains as well, in order to be able to go in and edit and create these.
Thank you. You had also mentioned adding this to a worklet. What are the best ways to get created discovery boards out to selected audiences?
So you can, when you have it as a behavior to work like a worklet, you can add it on your homepage so that when you log in, it's a quick link access and you don't have to do the enter into Drive, scroll through all the discovery boards you have and select it from there. Similar to how you would want a dashboard to be quick access, you can do the same with discovery boards. For getting it out to users, it's really up to you. You have the option here with your sharing. Um, you can have a couple different ways to do it. If you want to share it with specific individuals, you can look them up and then, say, I only want these individual people to be able to edit it, but overall security groups, these are the ones I want to be able to go in and be able to view it and look at it. So usually what I see is maybe like a little bit of higher up level execs giving them that view access to be able to come in and look at what you've configured for them. But if you have individual users who want to do more slicing and dicing and get into the nitty gritty of that data, giving them the edit access. So it's really up to you. You have a lot of different options utilizing some can view, some can edit, individuals or groups. You can kind of whatever seems most beneficial to who your audience is.
Are those graphical views able to be downloaded?
Yes, you can download them if you hit these little three dots here, download as a PNG. And you can do it that way. It's not interactable once you do that, but you can get the overall visualization if you like it and want to throw it on a presentation, or you want to send it out in an email, you can do it that way as well. But you won't get to be able to click in and see the individual users.
Another question for you. Can you group your EFF dates to months, quarters, or years?
Yes, you can do that. You have depending on what you're doing here, you can look in through your builder panel. It's going to just depend on what your data source is. If you use trended worker or workers for HCM reporting, you can use date fields to be in your groupings as well. Similar to how you can do with a matrix report as well there. So you can do that and play around with how you want that to work out on your chart.
Once you share with a security group, does it send them an email? And will this give them a link that takes them there?
It doesn't send them an email. What it does is if they then go into their drive, they'll be able to see the new thing that's been shared with them there. So if somebody else created a dashboard, it would come in here and I would say, oh, I have a new one. You can even go to your shared with me section and see if someone has shared something with you. But you would have to come into your drive and see what you have access to and who has shared what.
For an executive team use, would you recommend using discovery boards or dashboard?
It probably just depends on what you're looking at. I know that's kind of like a roundabout answer. I think a lot of times for an executive team, I see a lot of people wanting to tell a story with visualizations and really have the charts wanting to be customizable and having it look a certain way. And that's where I really think discovery boards wins out. You're more limited on a dashboard / report of what you can do with your charts. They still serve their purpose and they're very beneficial. And there's some things you can do with a custom report just based on the type of data sources you're able to access, and even the many the amount of calc fields that you can access and how they interact that a custom report is going to win out. But I think for the visuals and how to portray stories a little bit more, the discovery boards are more user friendly when it comes to an executive, in my opinion.
Great. And I know we're at time here, so if we'll still stay on just to answer a few more questions for those of you who do have time to stay on. But for those of you who don't, you can submit any additional questions in the survey at the conclusion of the webinar, and we'll be sure to follow up with you. So if you have any more questions, feel free to drop them there or reach out to your ACC, or email success@intercrowd.com. And thank you for attending and have a great day. For those of you who are able to stay, a next question for you is for the security portion, the users need to have different access to the data source that the discovery board is built on in order to see the data. Is that correct?
Yes. So somebody, if a user, for example, has access to trended workers or worker trace from reporting, but maybe doesn't have access to the journal lines data source, if they have access to one of the visualizations, data sources on the sheet, excuse me, they'll be able to open up the discovery board itself. So they do have to have access to the data they're seeing. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but it wouldn't keep them from opening up the discovery board and looking and editing, if that's the permissions you give them, the ones that you build off the information they do have. So yes and no, it's based on the security, the access that they do have access to, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Another one for you. Are there standard data sources that everyone has, or are there different in each tenant? If they're standard, where can I learn what each data source consists of?
Yeah, so there are standard data sources. All the ones coming in here, if I go into edit that you see on the side, all the normal indexed ones, they are readily available and brought to you by Workday. If you search in your tenant for data sources, you'll see it'll look like this. It's this data sources report. If you run that and run it open-ended, it'll bring back every single data source that you have in your tenant, and it'll give you a description of each one. It'll tell you if it's indexed or standard. For discovery board purposes, only the indexed ones can be used on the discovery board, but you'll also be able to see information about standard ones as well. And if you have Prism and you make different Prism data sets, and ultimately data sources from that, you can use those in discovery boards as well. So those would be your custom ones, but all the normal indexed ones are delivered, and you have access to the same ones.
Do you know if Workday Community has additional information on discovery boards?
They do. If you search for discovery boards, they have a lot of guidance sheets, and also like frequently asked questions section that you can go through and look at and see if there's, usually they'll have things for people asking questions of something that's not there, that's a future rollout, or just commonly asked questions that they get about usability of the discovery boards. But they do have a lot of information there, and you can search. If I just put in discovery boards, you get a lot of different content on it.
Another one for you. Is there a way to capture a requirement trend data through discovery? For example, opening requests, total requests, opening every week or over a certain time span?
Yes, that kind of leans in a little bit to like your recruitment hiring section where we were talking about you can do the offer acceptance rate, but you can use there's a job requisition data source that is indexed, and you can use that to show to create charts based off of that data source. I'm not sure about every single field that's available off of that off the top of my head, but you can definitely create visualizations from that, and that should be able to get you to like your stages, time and stage, or how they go through the hiring process.
And one more for you. Do you know if have you seen this used at all in payroll reporting through discovery boards and seen any useful cases there?
Um, I haven't done any like in-depth payroll. Besides, you can do a lot of like kind of building off of what's down here, and like you can bring in individuals annualized base pay. You can look at that amongst like different cost centers. There's journal lines data, so that's more financials. For payroll, I haven't seen too many. It's definitely possible. It just depends on what you're trying to do. You would probably have to go in and play around with what's available for you off that data source and see the fields and if they kind of correspond with what you're looking for. There's definitely data sources that are indexed, like payroll result line, and payroll results to be able to use that. So you could definitely build things from there. I'm just not sure 100% of all your options that you have for fields that are compatible with it, but you definitely have options to build from there.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you all for attending today. If we did not get to your question or there's something that might have popped up that we didn't answer, feel free to leave that in the follow-up survey at the conclusion of the webinar, and we will be sure to get a recording sent out to all of you. Thank you for attending.